join us on video. Please join us on video. Want to give everyone a heads up that this meeting is being recorded in case there are folks who aren't able to join us during this hour, this short hour, and would like to continue to be in touch with us and keep in touch with us in the coming months. Again, my name is Tina Shaf Bahar. I'll be your MC today. There is Tagalog, Bisaya, and Ilocano interpretation. So if you can select your interpretation, actually looks like we might not have the button. Can we get a confirmation about that?
The buttons are on
No.
for us on our end. I think
It
most.
is.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Can everyone see the button for interpretation? Great. Okay, so if you'd like to receive interpretation in Ilocano, Tagalog, or Bisaya, please go ahead and select your interpretation now. I welcome you to today's meeting, initiated actually by Amado Kaya Initiative, AKI. This initiative actually was started in 2020. Wanted to welcome everyone. This Zoom call called Tahanan, Natin, also abbreviated to TNT, is an initiative started by AKI, an Amado Kaya Initiative, which is an initiative that was started in 2020 by his mother, Amado's mother, Dr. Robin Magalit Rodriguez, and many other organizers who knew Amado, to honor his life, dedication, and legacy of serving the people. In 2020, after Amado passed away serving Indigenous people in the Philippines, this initiative has served as a space for Filipinos in our community to engage in programs including creating justice, community organizing that takes up Filipino issues and concerns. During this year of the Trump administration having been elected, this is an issue, the immigrant rights and justice issue is a concern that we see as at the forefront of many of our concerns in our families in the Filipino community and so many other communities that will be impacted by this administration. So many organizers and community members and immigrant rights advocates of this network initiated this meeting to prepare for these increased attacks. Before I jump into more of the grounding, I'm gonna actually share with everyone to introduce Jonah Ballesteros, or Ballesteros, I think, Jonah Ballesteros. Jonah is a Tagalog and Kapampangan settler on the ancestral land of Wichita, Kickapoo, Humanos, and Tawakoni peoples in Richardson, Texas. He is a United Methodist home missioner, married to Marie, and has 3 children, Tomas, Lija, and Andres. So I'll hand it over to Jonah to open us up today.
Good afternoon, everyone. My thoughts and
Maayong hapon sa tanan.
Membaga, aldaw amin.
my thoughts and prayers are with those affected by the fires in Altadena, Palisades, and the surrounding areas, but also with the people of Palestine on the ongoing genocide. I acknowledge that not all Filipinos practice Christianity due to our diverse belief systems.
Iti karara ko kan panpanunod ko kadigiti at tao ichay Palisades iti experience at timauram.
However, I hope you find inspiration in the reflection I will share. My reflection is based on the works of Professor Revelation Valunta from Union Theological Seminary in Cavite, Philippines. And it is titled Transgressing Borders. Going outside boxes is hard. Leaving our comfort zones, equally hard. The Magi's quest took over 2 years, transgressing borders, in search of a child, a complete stranger. A stranger they believe would liberate his people from oppression. crossing boundaries, discarding prejudices, tearing down walls. Very, very hard and very, very scary. And taking another road back is hard and scary as well. The Magi went against the order of Herod the king, and the innocent children were massacred. More often than not, then and now, when the most powerful are threatened, the most powerless get hurt. Who among us have flown on airplanes? Who among us have looked out the windows of those airplanes and seen the land masses below? What did you see? Did you see the lines, the borders that separated one nation from another? Did you see the markers that identified each country's territory apart from another? Like in our color-coded maps? The boxes we make, our comfort zones, our prejudices, our bigotry, our racism, the thick and high walls around our homes and even our churches, the apartheid wall in Israel, the Trump's walls, the borders that separate us, are all man-made. We put them up, which means we can tear them down. In the verses that most of us have been reflecting on the holiday season, from the first chapters of Matthew and of Luke, one element is crystal clear. Except for Mary and Joseph, all the characters who come together to celebrate the birth of Messiah are strangers, complete strangers. Empires and kingdoms create systems, structures, and lifestyles that create strangers, that divide, that alienate, that pit one against the other. Whether the division is based on class, race, creed, gender, religion. The birth of the Messiah, the fulfillment of the promise of Emmanuel, the coming of Yeshua, which means Yahweh liberates, brings complete strangers together. It births community. The birth of Messiah, my dear kapatid kasama, can tear down walls. And the Messiah showed us feeding the hungry, giving drink to the thirsty, visiting the sick, the imprisoned, clothing the naked, welcoming the stranger, proclaiming good news to the poor. All these tear down walls as well. One word, Emmanuel. But let us not forget the best way to experience Emmanuel, God's presence in our lives, is to be Emmanuel to someone else. The key is not to wait for Emmanuel, but to be Emmanuel to those who need God the most, to those whose only hope is God. Today, as so many people struggle for life, for safe spaces, for dignity, each of us invited to be active participants in the quest for a just and lasting peace, to be agents of love and faith, and hope in the healing of our world, to tear down walls that divide, that disempower, that marginalize, that dehumanize, that kill. Scary? Yes. Hard? Yes. Dangerous? Yes. But this is what the incarnation is all about. No one deserves to be alone, so God took the first step. God transgressed borders. God left heaven to be with us. God chose to be with one of us. God took sides. And God took the side of the poor, the oppressed, the marginalized. And we, those who confess to follow God, should do the same. My kapatid kasama, as we celebrate the birth of the Messiah, I invite us all to cross borders like the Magi, to turn down walls that divide, to be God's presence in others' lives, to change our ways and take another road. And like the Magi, by taking another road, the road less traveled, and even the road less travel, let us participate in the healing of our world, in our own healing. I invite us all to pray. Feel free to close your eyes, or if not, it's okay. Bahala, we come together in the spirit of Tahanan, where home is not bound by walls or borders, but is rooted in the shared essence of Kapwa.
I'm afraid to speak.
In this space, we honor the truth that we are deeply interconnected, our joys, struggles, and liberation intertwined. May we embrace the collective responsibility to dismantle the system that divides us, build bridges of belonging, justice, and care. Let this gathering remind us that Kapwa calls us to recognize the sacred in one another and co-create a world where every soul finds Tahanan, a home in love, liberation, and shared humanity. Amen.
Tayo ng kapwa na kilalanin.
Thank you so much, Jonah, for that meaningful and comprehensive message, acknowledging the current times and connecting the many issues that face us in our communities. And also thank you for connecting the Indigenous struggle and acknowledging that we are also on stolen land here in the United States. I myself am calling from Huchin, Ohlone territory here, also known as Oakland, California. If you'd like to also place your name and which territory you're calling from, which location you're calling from into the chat, I welcome you to do that right now. You know, please continue to breathe through this. I know that there is a lot also that is being felt.
Saan tayo nagmumula
A lot
lahat?
of sentiments that are coming up for many people, such as fear and heartbreak in the midst of crisis. Please feel free also to utilize the chat. We're asking that folks utilize the chat for questions, your current sentiments, and also your hopes. We won't be able to address everything on this call, as we hope that this is only the first call of many calls this year that we will, and we hope that it will continue to grow, this network. So I will go ahead and move us along in this program and introduce the next speaker.
And actually, Tina, can we
Again,
take a quick pause? Apologies. I think we are, the translation is still kind of coming through before we get into the meat of our program. It looks like the Tagalog interpretation is working, but we may just have to connect with our Bisaya and Ilocano interpreters. For the Bisaya and Ilocano interpreters, just a quick reminder that we need you to use the specific setting, or I'm sorry, the specific link to link that was emailed to each of you. Because yes, so there is already some request for a Bisaya translator in the chat. So again, for the Bisaya translator and for the Ilocano translator, please make sure you are seeing that you are using the link. And for everybody else in the room, thank you so much for your patience. Of course, this program is really intended for folks who are immigrants, and we do need to prioritize language access right now. So if you can just hold tight as we work through the tech on our end, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robin. If we can just get a pulse check in the room on if you have the language that you need, if you can give a thumbs up or an emoji on your video or on the chat.
Mag-check-in lang po tayo kung
so that we get a sense of if you're listening in the correct language, the language that you'd like to listen into. So if you can give us a signal, I see a few thumbs up. Everyone can their thumbs up into the chat or into their video. Okay.
And yes,
All
there
right.
is
And then-
a gentle reminder in the chat. Bisaya is often used as a substitute really to refer to Cebuano. And it is correct to say that Bisaya is actually not the language in which we are interpreting today. It was actually Cebuano. So we should also just
Cebuano.
indicate that as well, so there isn't any confusion. But again, let's. I'm checking on my side, Tina. So if we can just if you could do the pulse check with everybody on line to make sure that they're getting the translation they need, and then I will check on my side to just ensure that the settings are correct.
Okay, thank you. All right, so just doing one last pulse check. Okay, I did a pulse check on if you can hear the language that you prefer or with our understanding in. Can we get a pulse check if you are not hearing in the language that you would like to listen into? And if we can say that out loud in the different languages, that would also support us to see if, okay, I'm not seeing any heads up that people are not listening in the language that they, so if you would if there is a language that you would like to listen to this meeting in, but are not hearing it, please type it into the chat or raise your hand. Okay, looks like we're okay to move forward, if that's okay. And if anyone needs to stop us for any reason, please do stop us. We want to make sure that everyone here has access to the information. And I think Aniceto, did you unmute yourself?
There we go. Hi.
Hi. Are you okay to listen?
Yes. Is there
Go ahead.
video?
I'm sorry, is there a video?
Yeah, I can't see you.
Oh, that's okay. I mean,
Okay.
I'm on my audio, but my video is on a different. So I'm waiting right now. This is me.
Okay.
Hi.
Good. Hi.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we're going to move on now. Thank you so much for taking a pause so that we make sure that everyone is on the correct language. Thank you again for joining us. I'm going to introduce our next speaker to give us an idea of what to expect today and what we're hoping will come out of after today. So I'm introducing Dr. Robin Magalit Rodriguez, who is the founder and executive director of Amado Kaya Initiative, AKI. She is also the mother of Amado Kaya, Kanam Rodriguez, the namesake of AKI, who was a community organizer before his untimely death, while serving indigenous communities in the Philippines at the age of 22. Many of AKI's programs are a continuation of programs of the Bulacan Center for Filipinx Studies at UC Davis, which Dr. Rodriguez also founded and directed before retiring from the university professionally to serve as a people's professor. He also is a world-renowned expert on Filipino migration. Introducing Dr. Robin.
Thank you so much, Tina, for the introduction, and also for everybody joining us. And I do want to just acknowledge for folks who are seeking interpretation, and if that still has not been worked out on your end, we do intend to do more. This is not a one-off event. We intend to hold more spaces. One of the challenge technologically here in holding space for multiple language is really a lesson for us at AKI in terms of really ensuring that our systems are fully able to accommodate the diversity of the linguistic diversity of the Filipino community. As was already raised in the chat, Bisaya sometimes gets used to refer to what is really Cebuano. Of course, I'm very sensitive to that myself as someone with familial roots in Aklan, and recognizing too that that Aklan is in the Visayas and people there don't speak Cebuano. So again, to remind everybody, the intention is to provide more forums to ensure more linguistic diversity, and apologize if we're unable to fully account to accommodate everybody for this forum. But I'm going to go ahead and begin. So for today, just really wanting to provide a really quick overview around kind of immigration issues and the impact of immigration, of discrimination based on citizenship and immigration status. Very, very quickly. And again, I'm not going to go through these slides in full detail. Just know that we will be sending everybody who has RSVP'd a resource guide. We will be sharing out the slides. But suffice it to say, what I really want to just highlight for us is that discrimination and exclusion with respect to people, to immigrants is not new. These are just a few samples of laws that impacted people of color or impacted also immigrants in the United States. Anti-miscegenation laws, for example, or just the prohibitions around interracial marriage, particularly between whites and non-whites. You see with this image of the positively no Filipinos allowed, an example of anti-immigrant or specifically anti-Filipino sentiment as it with respect to housing in the 1910s. There were laws such as the Alien Land Law designed to deny Japanese families the right to own land, but there were many others. I think the point that we're trying to say today is there is something about anti-immigrant sentiment that frankly is deeply embedded in the United States, in U.S. law, and even in U.S. culture. And again, we could talk at more length about this history, what that history is about, why that is so in a future forum. But suffice it to say that what's happening under the Trump administration is not necessarily entirely new. Now, we also want to share sort of a discussion about citizenship and immigration status discrimination as it's transpiring in the U.S., but without just a focus on the discrimination, but actually to also highlight the kinds of rights we all continue to enjoy, because this is very important. In as much as the Trump administration has made very clear in the previous his previous presidency, and also as he enters into office now, it's clear that he has a very clear anti-immigrant stance. Yet it's also true that as communities have mobilized. We mobilized very successfully during Trump administration, the first Trump administration. We've always mobilized as communities to contest anti-immigrant policies. So there is space still for us, and we should understand and where those rights exist for those of us who are immigrants and might be fearful, and also for those of us who hold citizenship status, or those of us who are allies of immigrants. We need to know where we need to continue to show up to ensure that rights continue to be enjoyed by immigrants, and also, of course, refugees. So there is immigration and citizenship status discrimination, but I do want to share as quickly as possible what the rights we enjoy. May karapatan tayo, or in Filipino or Tagalog, we have rights. We immigrants and refugees do have rights. And here are just a couple of areas where we continue to enjoy rights that you should know. So with respect to housing, there is fair housing law, and it does prohibit intentional discriminatory practices in the sale, rental, and brokerage of housing. So people who, so the protected classes are include people with various immigration statuses. In California, and I should say to everybody in the call, some of the rights we're talking about are rights that are true for people across the US. Some rights might be true for people who live in California. Of course, AKI, we primarily operate in California. And so we do advise people who are here, who are joining us, but to be mindful of laws in the state where you live or the county and municipality where you live, because there might be some variability there. But in California, at least, there was in 2017, the law that was passed was the Immigrant Tenant Protection Act, and that also prohibits landlords from using tenants' immigration status against them, essentially preventing landlords from threatening to report tenants to immigration authorities. So that is these are the set of rights that tenants who live in California do enjoy. And I will try to go as slowly as possible too. Apologies, translators, if I'm going too quickly. Again, we do intend to share these resources out after this forum so that everyone can get this information and in the language that they're most comfortable in. So in terms of education, and this is coming particularly from the Department of Justice here in California, and in general, these things apply across the US. But again, you need to just confirm that this is true for where you live. But your child does have a right to free public education. All children do have a right to equal access to free public education, regardless of their or their parents' and guardians' immigration status. Information about citizenship and immigration status is never needed for school enrollment, certainly here in the in California. And you can adjust your children's emergency contact information, who can help support you should you find yourself in the unfortunate circumstance of being detained. So these are things that we should know in terms of our educational rights as immigrants. Employment rights, really, really important as well. And documented workers generally have the same wage and hour rights as other workers. Undocumented workers also have a right to organize and join a union, just like other workers. You're protected from being fired from your job, harassed at work, treated worse than coworkers with the same job, and on other forms of discrimination because of your race. And this is particularly coming from the Civil Rights Department of California. Again, with respect to California, AB 540 prohibits employers or persons acting on behalf of the employer from providing voluntary consent to the entry of an immigration enforcement agent. So basically in California, under this law, an employer can't authorize kind of the entry of an immigration enforcement agent. And it's illegal for an employment to tell workers that if they organize join a union, that the employer will call ICE or have workers deported. Again, just to take pause, of course, we do recognize the administration is trying to shift a lot of this, but it's still important to know where our rights exist. And again, this is true for folks who might be undocumented, folks who are LPRs, legal permanent residents, on green card holders, people who might have entered as refugees or immigrants but are LPRs. These are sort of the rights that are still, that extend to you. And then for those of us who are citizens and allies to immigrants, we're wanting to share this so that we also recognize that there are important places where we need to show up as allies to continue to hold these rights for those who share who have other kinds of immigration statuses. Okay, now in terms of healthcare rights, most immigrants can qualify for healthcare coverage under the Affordable Care Act. So under the Affordable Care Act, most immigrants were qualified for healthcare coverage, including green card holders, lawful temporary residents, persons fleeing persecution, including refugees and asylees, et cetera. And so you can see some of this on the slide. Again, we'll share these resources out. This is probably the most important point for you all. Enrollment is still open for the Affordable Care Act, at least until January 15th. for coverage. So again, things may shift, but we should know what we're entitled to still and what we can, what we might need to fight for. At least in California, under covered California, as of January 1st last year, Californians ages 26 through 49 are will be allowed to qualify for Medi-Cal, regardless of their immigration status. Oops. In terms of, I think I did the employment rights already. Oh, sorry. Okay, then now with the fires that are happening in Los Angeles, and we are of course extending our prayers and for those who have been victimized by the fires in the Los Angeles area. But there are also rights that immigrants have during climate disasters. Of course, when there are climate disasters, there is a tendency for different branches of law enforcement to be around. But at least as of the most recent kind of advisories coming out of the Department of Homeland Security itself, and this was with respect to wildfires that hit New Mexico, that in circumstances such as climate disasters, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, and the CBP, Customs and Border Protection, that sites that provide emergency response and relief are supposed to be considered protected areas. In other words, ICE and CBP are not to enforce immigration or conduct immigration enforcement activities at certain protected areas. So this is an important set of rights that we that are still, we can still enjoy. But again, these may be rights we're going to have to continue to fight for in under the new administration. But again, we couldn't go into full detail. We will share out resources after. But I think the key takeaway here is that federal, state, and local laws may differ when it comes to rights for immigrants and refugees. But we can make a difference. And we'll hear a little bit more from other speakers about the ways we can make a difference based on some case studies of the past. But I'm going to go ahead and end here. And I think our next speaker, Attorney Crystal Cortez, can speak more specifically about immigration policies. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Robin, for sharing with us and reminding us that the attacks on immigrants is not new, and that knowing our basic human rights to housing, education, workers' rights.
Gina, we can't hear you.
Oops, sorry, Avi, did you have something?
Hello,
Can you?
No.
Hello?
Oh, they can hear you now. Okay. Oh, it sounds like yes? No. Yes, you can hear me. Okay, got it.
And
I
just-
apologize for that. I got knocked out of my my audio.
Okay.
Lots of tech issues today.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Robin.
And if I can just quickly,
sharing
I
with
think,
us and reminding us that attacks on immigrants is not new. And
if
that
I may
no-
just make a quick comment, I'm sorry,
housing,
Tina.
education, workers' rights, healthcare, and especially during times of crisis is really important. And that the government won't always be the ones to tell us what our rights are, and that it is important for us as a community to educate ourselves and to care for one another and take care of each other during these times. Next, we're going to bring up Crystal Cortez, who is an immigration attorney located in Sacramento, California. She has been practicing immigration law for more than 7 years and represents clients in family-related immigration petitions, as well as representing clients in immigration removal proceedings. Please welcome Crystal Cortez to help us learn more about knowing our rights. Crystal?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me this afternoon. I'm just going to go over a couple of broad topics. Of course, there's a lot of anxiety and unknown going on, and I completely understand that. Just also take a breather for now, you know, interim President Trump is not technically president yet. So everything that he's saying is not official until signatures or, there's official ink on paper, on any orders or anything like that, right? So we do want to focus on step by step. Things are continuing to evolve and change. And so, you want to be mindful of the information that is being out there. So with that being said, one of the things I want to talk about first in broad terms is DACA. Right. So DACA usually protects people that have been approved for that application for 2 years at a time, and you can renew it. Currently, there's a lawsuit that continues to stand since 2023. They are not currently deciding on new applications. However, immigration is still accepting pending applications until there is another change to that ongoing lawsuit. But people that do have DACA should continue to renew it when they are eligible for it so that they continue to have that 2-year deferred action. Also, speaking in broad terms, with DACA and some of the other applications that someone may be eligible for, you want to be mindful that you want to continue to show that you are deserving and you should have discretionary, favorability in your case by staying out of trouble, avoiding criminal history. So that should be said, for DACA as well as any other types of immigration applications. Second, I want to talk about the possibility of being detained, right? I know President Trump has spoken a lot about mass deportations and, instilling fear in the community. However, we do want to make sure you are aware that you still have rights, whether you have status here or you're undocumented. First of all, a couple of pieces of advice is if you are detained, you should definitely call a family member or a friend. And you should tell them to reach out to an attorney to be called and get advice, as well as also tell that family member or friend where you're located, right? Sometimes, people get lost in the system. So you want your family member to be aware so that it's easier for them to track you down. The attorney will be able to call you and speak with you, okay? Another piece of advice is, you do have a right to speak to your attorney. So that kind of segues from, the family member reaching out to an
Yung
attorney.
attorney.
The attorney's hired. You should have that right to be able to have that attorney speak with you, whether you are detained or, out in the open. Also, sometimes immigration may have you sign something. They may try to enforce their procedures but they need your consent or they need your signature on something. Please be aware that it's important for you to understand what you're signing. So again, it kind of goes back to talking to an attorney, making sure you are adequately informed before you put your signature on that piece of paper. Third is you have a right to ask for, to speak to an immigration judge. That may mean that you are detained for an indefinite amount of time. However, it's usually, we want to try to make sure that that person has the ability to stay here as long as they can to be able to fight their case. It complicates a person's situation if they accidentally sign something or they disregard their ability to ask to speak to an immigration judge. So make sure you follow these couple of pieces of tips to make sure that you go through the process and you preserve those rights to you even while you're detained. Okay. third, we have a lot of people that do have, status here. And what is that going to look like for example, lawful permanent residents and traveling? With traveling, you always, regardless of Trump administration or not, you always want to make sure you have your green card in your possession, right? That is part of the law. And also, if your green card is currently expired, but you have a renewal and you've already submitted that and the application is pending, please make sure you carry your receipt, right? That way you can prove that even though your physical card has already expired, that you're still in the process of trying to continue your lawful status. And just so you know, only an immigration judge can take away your permanent residency. So you can't just have a government officer or CBP or ICE just say that we're gonna take away your card. You have to go through this process of being immigration court, go through and have a final decision be made by an immigration judge. Okay. And let me make sure I have my notes. Last but not least, right? How about those of us that are not documented, right? And we have many of us here in the community. It is very stress driven right now with the situation that's going on. But again, let me emphasize the second topic I brought about today with you being in removal proceedings. So please make sure that you follow those tips. Don't give up so easily. Yes, you might be detained for a little while, but don't just simply sign something. Talk to someone, get your legal advice, ask to speak to a judge, so that you are aware of what these decisions, what
Judge,
these
isang
ramifications
attorney.
mean for you. And you have, this whole community is here to support you. You'll be able to be informed based off of your individual and unique situation, what might be possible applications that you could apply for, or what relief that could be available to you. So I urge you that, keep in contact with a family member, and keep a immigration attorney's contact information with you if you ever run into these issues, so that you're ready to have that resource available to turn to. All right. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mga anak.
Thank you so much, Crystal, for also offering yourself as a resource to us. Legal resources are so important and valuable in especially in times like this when we are anticipating attacks on our communities. And also reminding us that immigrants still have legal rights, even under the threats of Trump's mass deportations. We're not yet under Trump's administration, and yet we are already seeing ICE raids that are happening as we speak. So it's important to know that this is an ongoing crisis in our community, but the difference under Trump is that there's a heightened awareness around it, and also violence that also that's incited towards our communities. So thank you so much for being here. Okay, there was also a question about deferred action for childhood arrivals, also known as DACA. Thank you so much, Faye, for dropping in the link into the chat if you want to learn a little bit more about DACA. There's more information about DACA in the chat.
May panggap si DACA ito
First,
na
I'm going to
chat.
bring up Alex Magsano, who was a member of
ni Alex Magsano.
Vallejo, currently a volunteer for Amado Kaya Initiative, who will be speaking more about organizing lessons, why it's so important for our community to organize around these issues.
Importante nga
Why
organize
we have been organizing around these issues is that the organizing also is not a new thing. So please welcome
Baru to
Alex.
organization kita.
Hi,
Marlo ni
can you hear
Alex.
me?
Mga kayo.
So thank you for having me today.
Yaman at
Actually wondering if
inimbitaran na.
we could put the slide on the Zoom. I'm not sure if we're having difficulties. Anyway, I think there's so many things that we could do to organize. There are so many things
Brate,
that
yung
with
nag-organize.
this upcoming Trump administration,
Dito sa karunong
there's
administration na
different
Trump,
ways on how we want to help our kababayans.
so
But
nang
I want
tulong
to
kayo,
specifically talk to you guys today about the story on how we were able to basically, in effect, win, a sanctuary resolution in the city of Vallejo.
kasi nga impasa
So as you
dati
guys know, back in
sanctuaryo sa
2017,
di siyudad nga
President
Galeho,
got in office, everybody was trying to figure out the best way that we could help out
do kami nga
to
nagkampanunod
defend
na
our
natin mayat
communities
nga
against Trump's
pangrugyan
deportation
nga
policy.
organize.
One of the ways that
Ngesa,
different cities were able to
nga do mga
figure out
siyudad
was to pass
nga na
the sanctuary resolution.
discover nga pamayan nga may pasa.
And I just want to, in brief, say what a sanctuary city is, right? So,
Describe na basit
for
yun
the cities
natin
that
sanctuary
pushed to
city.
pass a sanctuary resolution, what that entails is that once passed, that the city is committed to do, the following, right?
At
Number one,
maproboran to sanctuary
they are
city,
not to provide personal information to ICE.
basta
Number
pulay
two, that they would not question immigration status for city
questionnaran
researchers, or at least
kasi sa ati immigration status ti tao,
not how do you say it? Not prevent people from applying for city resources based on their immigration status.
and
And the last one,
sarati
which is
tatao
very
no
important, is the city commits
nag-apply
to let
giti
their local law
resources
enforcement
ti
to
syudad,
cooperate in what
community
we usually call the federal
pulisya,
ICE raids.
community linted,
So
nga may
that's the
kapan
main gist of what
i-include
sanctuary
amin
resolution is
iti imigrante awan ti
back
agbali-bali.
then. Can I go to the next slide? So at that time, I was a member of Migrante here in Vallejo. Migrante is a
Dati membro ti
Filipino
migrante.
migrant organization that we are
Migrante
determined to
nga
help protect
organisasyon
the
para
immigrants,
Pilipino iti
in
komunidad ti
particular
Baleo.
the Filipino immigrants in our community, right? So yeah. Although I just want to say that in Vallejo, unlike more progressive cities like San Francisco, Oakland, maybe Santa Rosa, Richmond, we
Oakland,
found out
San
that we
Francisco.
did not have a lot of progressive organizations and institutions that we can connect with locally.
Progressive
So,
organization
but
nga
there was a
Duma.
lot of interested
Ado ti
individuals
nag-interesado
that wanted to solve, the issues at hand.
Dumat ti mga nga
So what
masolbar
we ended up
ti
doing was we
issues
decided
dito
to
balehos nga pinadas.
the Safe Haven Coalition, and this is the mission that we were able to come up with.
Safe Haven
The Safe Haven Coalition unites individuals
Coalition.
and grassroots organizations committed to protecting and supporting vulnerable populations, and especially the undocumented immigrant community. We joined together to magnify the reach and influence of our efforts
Mission
in
kati
issues of
tulungan
civil rights
iti
and the
on
democratic
dokumento na
process
imigrasyon
to
iti
advance and
komunidad
uphold our
tayo.
civil
So
rights and
ang
social
titinulong
justice.
tapno
We share a
maipakita
fundamental value with all peoples
lawak kin
worldwide,
influence
and
ti
which means we
Filipino iti
make sure
komunidad
our
tayo ti process ti politiko
slide
tapno may adang ken ipatakder iti karbengan ken linteg may
the main mission
panggit
of the
na
Safe Haven Coalition was to
mapektaran
pass the sanctuary
ilubong komunidad
however, we
relasyon
knew that we were on an uphill battle. As I said, Vallejo was not that progressive.
narigat ngayon ro yan kabuta
And there
Pareho
was
ang
a certain
putunay nga
level
nirwam nga
of
progress nga
anti-immigrant
syudad
sentiment
ngam
which much like all other communities, we were up against the the anti-immigrant
Yeah, really contra the immigrant
hysteria,
mas sentimiento ti
and
tao
also
at narigat mo ta
Vallejo was
suportam
there
nila.
was a lot of pro-Trump people there.
Ado ti
The other thing
para ka ni
that
Trump
we
ditoy
had was there was a lack of
awan mat
political
ni
will
dating
to
organisasyon nga
push for the sanctuary resolution.
ang
I do
kumagit
remember
ka
that
dito tao kin
when we
individuals
contacted the previous mayor in Vallejo,
sa
that
damat
initially
pangbutbut nga iti
he was pretty reluctant on
federal
passing
iti
the resolution.
federal gobyerno nga
Of course,
baikat
there
iti
was a lack of
funding
existing
kinukuha mo may
organizations at that time that
reduce.
connect with. Although there was a lot of you know, very gung ho individuals that wanted to help out. And the one big hurdle that we were up against was the threat by Trump to withdraw the federal funds to local cities. So that was in the minds of a lot of city officials. So uh, it 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 made it made it very difficult to to pass it. But despite
Pinanggitay ni
this,
Trump nga ikat di kita
many
pandang
members of the
dati
coalition were
siya
committed.
bakala
So we
sila
ended up
mangbutbuteng digad
we
sudi
ended up doing
bakala
the
hurdle.
various tasks that were on our hands. So we were able to draft a proposal, look for somebody in the city council to introduce the resolution, lobbied more political leaders,
Jadi
and
tulong
outreach
ni
to
City
the
Council
broader
at
community
least
on how we can garner their
ni
support,
kuada
right?
ti
So
proposition
by
in
the time the day came when the vote was
submit the
up, we were able to garner, I think, at least 3 out of the 7 council members their commitment to pass the resolution.
the resolution at least
Can
talo
I go to
dito
the next
ito
slide?
initially
On
kat
this next slide, these are just
join
some
na
of the pictures that we had on that day. We held a community rally right before the council meeting. I believe there was about 100 people that were there. I just want to mention too that at this time we were able to connect with the Bulosan Center, led by Professor Rodriguez.
so di na naipan na
This
di
was important
resolution
because a
mga
lot of the local
gasot nga
community
tao no
was
adupay
studying for
nag-tender di
UC Davis,
rally
where Professor Rodriguez was actually teaching. So we requested them to come, and so when Professor Rodriguez came to
ni
that
Professor
day at the rally,
Rodriguez
she was able to bring a whole bunch of the UC Davis folks on that event.
nag nagitugot ti
Yeah,
materials nga timulong
local media
mga
was also there, and
wanag
also
kami
we had somebody
spread
from
ti
Balitan America to
mensahe
cover it
tayo
because
diti
that was pretty important because in Vallejo we have like about 20 to 25% of the population that were Filipinos,
to'y
and at the
Vallejo
same
20 to
time
25% kat
4 out of 7
Filipino.
of the council members were ethnically Filipinos now. So yeah, but to cut the story short, yeah, we were able to win the the sanctuary vote. There was a lot of speakers who spoke at the council meeting.
Inembag ka ni aprobaran na ti
They
butos
were they were they,
prati
they were all lined up. I think it took
sanctuary
over an
votes if
hour
heaven
to
that issue
to
the
finish
Vallejo.
through all the speakers. Fortunately,
Ito kadigiti
we only had, I think, one or two that spoke against the resolution.
contribution dito
So
Filipino.
that was a big advantage for us. So yeah, we were able to win on the resolution. When the vote came up, we were actually surprised that the vote was unanimous. So 7 out of 7 of them were able to vote
Unanimous
in
na di
support of the
votos.
resolution.
7 out of 72
Yeah.
sa amin.
With all the efforts of everybody, the coalition, the all the supporters. Yeah, I think this was a very
supporters
concrete example of
trabaho ken
of,
maraming
people
ititimulong
power, right?
ka
So,
nagbalig
why is this
mission
important for us right now?
dating
I think one of the lessons
proposition
that
nila nembag ta nag
that really comes to
sa
to
pasa
front is
talaga
that
get together ramen ito yung
yeah,
organisasyon.
if we're able to come together, unite, and help our community, right? I think we're able uh, to protect ourselves. And yeah, in this Trump, the second term of Trump, I think it's always important for us to unite, do our own research, study what needs to be done, and then of course advance together with our community.
Di pinagbaligi ket
Organizing,
nga
keep on advocating.
pinagkaysa amin na tao ket
Yeah,
mabalin nga
we'll be able to achieve more, I think, in the coming years to protect ourselves.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
I think
you,
that's it.
Alex. Thank you so much, Alex. Yeah, we're coming down to the end of our hour. Alex, thank you so much for sharing and reminding us that when we organize and we build people power, great things can come from it. And many people on this call know that from experience, we have been able to come up with generative solutions that really address the concerns of our community members and people being impacted. So we only have a few minutes left, but I just wanted to share that with all the technical difficulties, if folks can actually stay on for another 15 minutes after 3 o'clock, we can take some questions. And again, we're not going to be able to address all the questions today, but we are collecting and gathering the questions so that in future calls that we have, we'll be able to address some of those questions and learn a little bit more, because want to acknowledge too that these are also unprecedented times that we're anticipating and that we are learning together. Yeah, the best thing is to be informed with real information, and we hope that this network will continue to grow. Also, I want to acknowledge that people are calling from the West Coast to the East Coast on this call. People are calling from different localities, and that there are very specific laws locally. So Sanctuary City is very common within California, but also want to learn about the different localities and how we would respond in those different situations and conditions. The last speaker I want to bring up, one of my favorite leaders in our community. She is a mother, a former union organizer, currently a health worker. Her name is Bernadette Herrera, one of my idols. And leaders in our community. She is a community organizer who has long supported Filipino recently arrived immigrant workers in the Bay Area and has helped lead campaigns against wage theft, labor trafficking, and other workers and immigrants abuses across the U.S. I myself have learned so much from her. She has been recognized by the SF Board of Supervisors for her commitment to improving the lives of working women and contributions to community organizing and advocacy in San Francisco. She's also contributed to the humanitarian efforts to provide relief and rehabilitation for disaster victims in the Philippines. Please welcome Bernadette Herrera.
Hello.
Hello po.
Hello, yes. Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Salamat, Tina. So, tatlo na yung nagsalita, bali tayo yung panghuli na magsasalita. I hope lahat hindi pa inaantok.
Sandali lang po. Can we make sure that there is English translation from Ate Bernadette's speech into English? If we can test that out. Oh, you may have to go to Tagalog interpretation. Got it. Okay, so if you need interpretation into English, please click Tagalog, the Tagalog button under interpretation.
Dina, if it's helpful, I can also translate on the chat if folks want to follow through there.
Okay lang. Oh, sige, Nikki. Salamat. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tina. Ang mga Pilipino sa Amerika ay kalimitang nakikita natin sa mga industriyang pangkalusugan, social assistance, o yung mga tumutulong sa serbisyong palipunan ng panggobyerno at non-profit. Makikita rin natin sila sa retail tulad ng mga fast food, Walmart, McDonald's at iba pa. At marami ring Pilipino ang nasa trabaho ng manufaktura tulad ng computer chips and boards at paggawaan ng mga kotse at iba pa. Tayo ang tagapag-alaga sa mga matatanda at mga bata at may sakit at may mga kapansanan. Kabilang din tayo sa mga na makikita natin sa mga paaralan, ang mga teacher na nagtuturo sa mga kabataan. Tayo rin ay nasa likhaan ng mga produktong pangangailangan ng mamamayan at lipunan. Gayun din, kabalikat tayo sa pagpapatakbo ng mga negosyo. Sa panahon ng pandemya, kabilang ang maraming Pilipinong nurse at caregivers na nag-aalaga sa mga sakit at may kapansanan. Kahit na 4.5% lamang ng mga nurse sa Estados Unidos ay Pilipino, mas mataas sa 30% ng mga namatay na mga nurse ay Pilipino. Ngunit kahit na napakalaki ng kontribusyon ng mga Pilipino at iba pang migrante sa kalusugan at ekonomiya ng US, pilit pa ring binabaling ni Trump ang galit at sisi sa ating mga migrante sa kinaharap ng problema ng Amerika. Ngunit ano ba ang datos? Araw-araw, may mahigit na 6,000 Pilipino ang lumalabas ng bansa upang maghanap ng kabuhayan. Sa ngayon ay humigit kumulang 4 na milyong Pilipino sa Amerika na kabilang sa mahigit 12 milyong Pilipino sa labas ng bansa. Sa kabuuan,
abroad all over the globe.
nag-aambag ang migranteng Pilipino
In
ng
total,
$33 billion
Filipino
sa
migrants
ekonomiya ng
contribute
Pilipinas
$33 billion
at
to the
mga
Philippine
remittances.
economy through remittances.
Para sa ating mga Pilipino, dapat nating kilalanin na ang ating pag-migrate sa ibang bansa ay sapilitang migrasyon at hindi exercise of free choice, na madalas sabihin ng ilang tao, lalo na ang ilang nasa gobyerno. Ang desisyon nating mga ibang bansa kasama ng milyong-milyong kababayan na naunan sa atin ay isang desisyon bungan ng mga kondisyon ng lipunang Pilipino tulad ng kahirapan, kawalan ng trabaho, kawalan ng lupa, panunupil at iba pa. Sino nga ba sa atin ang nangarap na mahiwalay sa ating mga pamilya? Para lamang mabuhay kung may sapat namang sahod ang mga manggagawa sa ating bansa. Sino nga ba sa atin ang magsasanla ng lahat ng ating kabuhayan at mangungutang ng labis para lamang makaalis kung may tiyak namang trabahong makakabuhay? Kasalanan niyo to. Pinili niyo to. Ang madalas narinig natin kahit mula sa ibang kapwa Pilipino. Itama po natin ang ganitong mga pag-iisip. Huwag nating kalimutan na may responsibilidad din ng gobyerno ng Pilipinas na proteksyonan ang mga migranteng Pilipino. May pananagutan sila dahil matindi ang korupsyon ng pamahalaan at kawalan ng maayos na programa para paunlarin ang Pilipinas. At yan ang dahilan ng persahang pag-alis nating mga Pilipino sa Pilipinas. Para sa ating mga migrante dito sa US, tayo ay magbigkis-bigkis upang protektahan ang isa't isa at ipaglaban ang ating mga karapatan. Sama-sama nating labanan ang mga kontrang mamamayang polisiya ni Trump at ang mga kondisyon na nagluluwal dito. Alalahanin natin ang mga tagumpay na meron tayo ngayon ay hindi kusang ibinigay, kundi nagmula sa ating sama-samang pagkilos at paglaban. Ang pinagsamang lakas ng komunidad ang nagpatigil ng deportasyon ng ilan nating mga kababayan at nagtaguyod ng mga patakaran para sa mga sanctuary cities o safe haven o sa iba pang mga cities ng California. Ito rin ang nagpanalo ng libo-libong mga kaso ng trafficking, wage theft, at mga ilang batas para sa mga maggagawa at migrante at tulad ng California Domestic Worker Bills of Rights. Sa nagaganap ng malawakang sunog sa LA, dapat tiyakin ng gobyernong Estados Unidos na ang pagtulong ay hindi nakabatay sa status o kung may papel man o wala. Walang dapat diskriminasyon. Bilang migranteng Pilipino sa Amerika, hindi tayo papayag na gawin muli tayong scapegoat o panakot o panakipbutas sa krisis ng lipunang Amerika. Narito tayo upang igiit ang ating mga karapatan. Lahat tayong migrante, anuman ang trabaho o status, ay may karapatan na mamuhay ng isang ligtas na tahanan na walang takot na ma-deport na basta-basta at mawalan ng hanap buhay. Sabay-sabay nating ipanawagan na ito ay tahanan natin. Maraming salamat at magandang hapon sa inyong lahat.
Thank you so much, Ate Bernadette. You're my favorite speaker. You really help us to remember that we're not only fighting a crisis here in here in the United States where our people are being attacked, but that most importantly, it is important for us to also understand and address the root causes that cause the suffering of our people. Mula sa bayan natin, from our homeland to here. So thank you so much for your words and helping us remember that. I wanted to just share with everyone, we're hoping that the hope after today is to create a network of people who are interested in joining and becoming resources, and also simply knowing about the network so that we all are on the same page about what it means to be in community with each other, and also to defend our people during times of crisis and the attacks on our rights. So wanted to just share a little bit around the essence of what we're capturing today, that regardless of immigration status, that will protect and not tolerate any laws, policies, actions against immigrants and scapegoating of immigrants, and that we want to capture that within this network. We will open, next time we'll be able to gather and summarize some of the takeaways from today. We have someone flashed up the draft guiding principles. They're pretty basic, that we are here wanting to stand up for our community, that we have power in numbers. And we have to remember too in this time that we shall at all costs avoid being divided during this time. Trump has really run his campaign on dividing our community based on issue and attacks on women's rights, on reproductive rights and justice, also towards the trans community, also towards other countries outside of um, outside of the this country, and really escalating, aiming to escalate wars outside of the United States, and really putting the brunt and blame on immigrants, women, children. So we're hoping that this network will create more unity amongst us. And to get involved, please do sign in on this form, Tahanan Natin to. Please get involved. There's lots of different levels, lots of different ways that folks can plug in. We know that this is a need in our community, and this effort is really to respond to that need, respond to some of the things around like the fear and the crisis that folks are feeling right now. So with that, I wanted to just end in these last few minutes, some of the questions. We have 3 questions that had come out of this, this forum. The first one is similar to DACA. Do you foresee the same for those pursuing DALE, deferred action for labor enforcement? The second question is, can you be deported when found guilty of a felony, even if you are a naturalized citizen? And 3 is for people that had previous felonies, but was excused or already had served their time, will they be included in mass deportation that Trump is talking about? So those are 3 questions that we have put forward. I don't know if there's legal attorney Crystal or anyone else on the call who'd like to address any of these questions at this time. And if not, we can carry them forward into our next forum so that we can circle back to them and make sure that folks' questions are answered.
Hi, Tina.
I'm
This
just
is
gonna start
Crystal.
driving. I can ask it
I
on the
can
road.
answer probably the last 2 questions. I'm not familiar with the question about comparing it to DACA. Most of my experience comes from family-based petitions as well as people that are placed into immigration court. Remind me again what the second question is so I can make sure I get it right.
Yes, I'll just put it into the chat, but I'll say it out loud is, can you be deported when found guilty of a felony, even if you are a naturalized citizen?
So as a naturalized citizen, you are already been, I guess you can say, screened prior to showing, you've been granted and approved for naturalized citizenship because they didn't have a problem approving that petition. Usually, a person that applies for naturalization is the government's last chance to make sure that they look through your entire history to make sure that you are eligible for that application. 4 years ago, when Trump was the president the first time, there was some fear about denaturalization. There is a possibility of that. But again, Trump's not president yet, so we are not sure what could happen. But to simply answer your question, if you are already a naturalized citizen, they cannot just deport you. And if they do want to deport you, they have to go through that process in court. They can't just put you on a plane and take you back to wherever you're from. Okay. And then the other question is, remind me again, Tina. Hold on, let me scroll down.
I'll go ahead and put it into the chat again, but the question is for people that have had previous felony, but was excused or already had served their time, will they still be included in the mass deportation that Trump is talking about?
Well, again, we don't know because we don't know the details of his criteria as part of his plan to mass deport everyone, right? He's mostly just talking in a very general sense. Nothing has actually been signed or ordered by him yet, right? So that is an evolving concern for the community. However, if you have already been through the immigration court system, and the immigration judge has granted you, I believe, the the person said something about like being given a second chance by the judge. It sounds like the immigration judge may have approved your ability to be able to stay here. So you have met that criteria to be allowed a second chance. Um, so that shouldn't be falling under that mass deportation, plan that Trump has. But again, nothing's in place. He's just talking right now in very general terms. So until he announces something, until he signs something, it's on paper, nothing is really official. Again, I want to speak in very general terms. So I have put my current office number. I accidentally put my old number, but my current office contact information. My firm does allow a free first consultation. So feel free to make an appointment, have your questions ready. And that way you can speak to your individualized situation. So thank you, Tina.
Thank you, Attorney Crystal. If it's okay, if we can just ask one more question that came up in the chat.
Is that the Dale question?
No, I think that
The Dale, and actually I put something in response to the Dale question, or it's referred to as Dale. So and we can follow up on that, and I put that in the chat. That I actually serve also to support the directorate at the UC Davis Law School's Labor and Community Center, and we do have an expert who can speak to the Dale question more specifically, but I think there's some other questions in the chat.
Thank you so much, Dr. Robin. A question that came up: how can legal support be included in safety plans for mixed status families, especially for those who have school-aged children? Should it be a specific lawyer's name, or are there hotlines?
I guess, Tina, I can provide a general answer to that as well. I think, you should have, just like everything else, an evacuation plan, you should have some general numbers in place. It doesn't have to be a specific immigration attorney, but it should be someone that does practice immigration compared to, criminal defense or like litigation. You want someone that, if issues do arise for you, that you can, have a family member or friend reach out to that immigration attorney to be able to provide the information. So then the immigration attorney can properly advise and then, possibly make arrangements to speak to the person that is, for example, being detained to get the direct story. So you should have, obviously, if you have a pending application, you should have your attorney in your wallet, your their contact information, I'm sorry. But if not, then at least make sure you have one or two ready so that, you can provide something versus nothing to a family member, or at that point, a family member would just have to look on the internet and see who's available to talk to them and get more information. But for the most part, I don't believe there are actual hotlines, but there are nonprofit organizations that may have referral sources.
Thank you, Attorney Crystal. And then we have in here, Faye, thank you so much for sharing that. For those living in San Francisco County, we have the San Francisco Rapid Response Hotline run by SF Immigration and Legal Education Network. There's a link right in the chat. There is also a Filipino resource guide, which we will be circulating, care of SOMCAN. Thank you so much, everyone. I know that we have gone over time, but it seems that we've really used our time to go through so much to understand the history of immigration in this country, understand the root causes of why people migrate in the first place, the history of organizing, and what people have done in the past, and that the reminder of that our communities have faced unprecedented crises before, and that we have been experienced in coming up with our own solutions and caring for each other and taking care of one another, and keeping each other safer in this really hard world that we live in. So I want to encourage everyone here. I know some folks have dropped off already, but to keep in touch with us. How to get involved really is to fill out the form so that you are sure to get updates from us, and we will let you know when the next call will be. In that next call, we hope to go through the guiding principles so that everyone knows what they're joining, and all the different levels that you can join in during this time. Is there anything else from the Tahanan Natin to organizing group that would like to add anything else before we close this call?
Just quickly, I think that, folks if this was useful for you, Amarukai Initiative, of course, took a lead here, and we would appreciate just your continued support if you can donate so we can actually, get people compensated for the time that they pledge in doing this work. Also, we are in the process of collecting data on the community. This slide says that it's for Sacramento region, but we've actually extended it now. So partly we're hoping that we can collect more data in the community from our community so we can better serve the community. And there's a final, just a sharing of a way to show up and be in solidarity for folks who have been affected by the fires in Los Angeles County.
Thank you so much, Dr. Robin. So many ways that we can plug in today. We'll follow up with you. And again, if someone can actually drop in a link for donation. Oh, there it goes. Thank you, Angela. Please donate to Amado Kaya Initiative so that we can continue this good work and continue Amado's legacy of serving our people and making sure we're responding to the needs. Thank you so much, everyone. As you log off, please just drop in the chat one word that that you're leaving with. Solidarity, fired up, lots of salamat, grateful. It's making us think. We're informed, community. Thank you so much, everyone. I got a heart in the an emoji. Thank you so much. Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat. I hope this time was very valuable to all of you as it was for me and for the folks on the panel. Maraming salamat.
Thank you. We'll follow up.
Tina,
Yes,
can you do presentations sa mga centers to go so that yung mismong tao who really need it can benefit from it? Kasi marami tayong service providers dito ngayon, no? And I really appreciate this. I learned so much. Pero siguro yung outreach ba, if you can do something related to that?
Opo.
And maybe
Ate Lolita, si Angelica to. We should join the network and then we could start one in
Okay,
this
yeah,
area.
that would be great. Kasi at least in person ba, they can ask their questions.
Gawin. Pag part na tayo ng network, magagamit natin yung
Oo, Lolita, mag-sign up kayo sa network. Yun talaga ang balak namin is hindi lang sa virtual pero sa in-person din kasi alam natin na kailangan natin umikot.
And the other thing is, if you do translation, kagaya sa Ilocano, kasi Ilocana ako, no, I was listening to the translation. When you do it in person, have that person available there, but not to do literal translation. Yun lang, naintindihan ninyo, then he would just explain it instead of, literal na ano. Kasi it was difficult for me to understand it in Ilocano talaga. And I'm Ilocana. So I wanted to experience that. Pero ang galing, this information is really very important para sa ating mga tao. Ang daming natatakot eh. Marami ng na ano ngayon. Maski yung, I hope you don't mind, I keep talking. Meron bang, yung mga students ba na ano, they came here as visitors tapos nag-apply na students, no? So they're afraid now na baka makat na yung ano ko, I haven't even finished yung aking ano course. Mga ganun ba mga questions nila. So I don't know how to answer them, but kayo ang experts eh.
Hindi naman experts, Tita Lolita.
You are. I mean, for me, because I don't know yung mga ano. Yeah, that's really great, Tina. And I'm glad. I didn't know that you'll be here. I just know that Dr. Robin, will be here, but hindi kita. At saka si Bernadette. I didn't know Bernadette will be here. Okay, thank you so much.
Salamat.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Hello po, Tita Juvie, Ate Juvie.
Yes.
Thank you,
Good to see you.
Lolita.
Even sa Zoom. Bernadette too.
So,
Ate
okay lang
Bernadette, great
tayo.
speech. Thank you
Kumusta
very
po?
much.
Oy, salamat.
Salamat ha. Sige. Salamat sa inyong lahat. We'll talk
Hindi tayo
more.
nagpa-picture.
Ay,
Oo nga.
nako, hindi tayo nagpa-picture.
Wala na, umalis na lahat.
Ay, may 25. Whoever's still there and you're willing to go upstairs.
Meron pa.
Pwede naman.
Picture. Ay, nako. Sige, mag-picture ba tayo? Hindi.
Picture na ulit.
Tessa Dulalas nandito pala.
Ayan.
Sino magpa-picture taking?
Oh.
Picture daw na lang.
Para
We still have 24 people.
We can do
No,
the picture.
Oh, ayan na, lumabas na yung mukha.
Nakuha mo, Dr. Robin?
No, I didn't because I'm just
Ako na.
still monitoring the chat. Someone else na lang.
Si Cherry, nandito rin si Cherry. Ayun, no?
Dali lang ha.
Hi, Cherry.
Ako na muna. Hold on.
Sige. Picture muna tayo.
Wow, tagal na natin din nagkita.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay,
Thank you.
1, 2, 3.
Ayaw na iwan, ha?
Salamat po.
Next time, may time para sa
Thank you
picture.
so much.
Salamat sa
Thank you,
iyo.
everyone. Thank you for your patience.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Salamat.
Jonah, dali.
Are we